free!
You remember how it felt to watch these shows, Saturday afternoons or after school, or late on a weekday night when you should have been in bed.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little warning that you're gonna get a hernia.
The theme songs alone could put you right back there in seconds. These were casts that felt like they would be around forever. But time has moved through them one by one, and what's left is something that stops you cold when you actually count it up.
Actress Rebecca Schaefer was shot to death Tuesday in the doorway of her Los Angeles apartment.
In show after show, only a single person remains. Today we look at TV shows from the 80s with only one cast member still alive. If there is a single show from that era that people hold up as a symbol of how badly child stardom can go wrong, it's Diff'rent Strokes. Running on NBC and then ABC from 1978 to 1986, it was one of the most watched sitcoms of its time. A show about two black brothers from Harlem, Willis and Arnold Jackson, adopted by a wealthy white widower on Park Avenue. It was warm and funny and touched on social issues that most shows avoided, and it made Gary Coleman and Todd Bridges household names before either of them was old enough to drive. The cast's story after the cameras stopped is one of the darkest in television history. Gary Coleman, Arnold, the one with the catchphrase, the one whose face was on every lunchbox, spent his adult years in a cycle of financial ruin, health crises, and legal trouble. He died in 2010 at 42 from a brain hemorrhage after a fall. Dana Plato, who played the Drummond daughter Kimberly, died in 1999 at 34 from a prescription drug overdose after years of addiction and public scandal that the tabloids covered without mercy. Conrad Bain, who played the adoptive father, died in 2013. Charlotte Rae, who played housekeeper Edna Garrett before spinning off into the facts of life, died in 2018. Todd Bridges is 60 years old and still standing. Willis Jackson, the older brother, the one who was supposed to be the serious one, turned out to be the one who made it through. He has been sober for more than 2 decades, something he has spoken about with honesty and without vanity. He wrote a memoir called Killing Willis that described his childhood sexual abuse, his crack cocaine and methamphetamine addiction through his 20s, his arrests, and the long road back. He tours schools as a motivational speaker. He describes himself as living proof that a child star can survive what Diff'rent Strokes seemed almost designed to do to the people in it. Three's Company was one of the loudest, most controversial, most watched sitcoms of its era. ABC's Friday night comedy about a single man, Jack Tripper, pretending to be gay so he could share a Santa Monica apartment with 2 women without scandalizing the landlord. It ran from 1977 to 1984, was built almost entirely on sexual misunderstanding and physical comedy, and drew enormous audiences every week. John Ritter, Suzanne Summers, and Joyce DeWitt were the face of it, a trio that became genuinely iconic in the way that very few television casts manage. John Ritter died in September 2003, suddenly and shockingly, at 54, from an aortic dissection, a tear in the main artery from the heart. He was mid-career active, planning the next thing, and then he was gone in a single day. Don Knotts, who played the bumbling replacement landlord Mr. Furley across the show's later seasons, died in 2006. Norman Fell and Audra Lindley, the original landlords the Ropers, both passed years earlier. And then in 2023, Suzanne Summers, Chrissy, the blonde, the one who was fired from the show in a salary dispute that made national headlines and was replaced by 2 different actresses, died of breast cancer at 76. That leaves Joyce DeWitt, who played Janet Wood, the practical one, the florist, the character who was generally described as the straight one, and who was never quite as famous as either of her co-stars. She is 77 years old. After the show ended, she pulled back from Hollywood considerably, did some stage work, appeared occasionally in television. She reconciled with Summers in 2012, years after a falling out, and the two shared memories of Ritter together on camera. She remains, as she always was on the show, the one keeping things together. Just now, she's keeping something much quieter. Before Robin Williams became one of the most celebrated comedians and dramatic actors of his generation, he was Mork, an alien from the planet Ork living in Boulder, Colorado, bewildered by human customs, reporting back to his home world in monologues delivered to a tiny egg. Mork and Mindy ran on ABC from 1978 to 1982, launched Williams into superstardom, and drew 56 million viewers to its premiere episode. Pam Dauber played Mindy McConnell, the grounded, warm, endlessly patient human woman who shared her apartment with him and eventually married him. She was there for all of it. Robin Williams died in August 2014. He was 63. His death shook a generation, and the details that emerged afterward, that he had Lewy body dementia, undiagnosed during his lifetime, spreading through nearly every region of his brain, made an already devastating loss something more complicated and more painful. The supporting cast that surrounded Mork and Mindy over 4 seasons has also largely passed. Conrad Janis, who played Mindy's father, Fred McConnell, died in 2022. The rest of the principal cast is gone. Pam Dauber is 74 years old. She has been married to actor Mark Harmon since 1987 and largely stepped back from the entertainment industry while raising their 2 sons, describing it as a deliberate choice she has never regretted. She returned briefly in 2014 for an episode of Williams's final television series, The Crazy Ones, reuniting with him one last time. In 2021, she appeared in 7 episodes of NCIS alongside Harmon in what became his exit from the show. She has said she was never chasing fame, and the life she has built away from it is evidence that she meant it. She is the only one left who knows what it was like to stand across from Robin Williams in that apartment every day and try to keep a straight face. Laverne Shirley was a Happy Days spin-off that became, for a time, the most watched television show in the United States. Running on ABC from 1976 to 1983, it followed Laverne DeFazio and Shirley Feeney, 2 roommates working the bottle cap line at a Milwaukee brewery, navigating working-class life with their neighbors Lenny and Squiggy. It was broad, physical, enormously funny, and it consistently beat everything else on television in the ratings. If you grew up watching television in the late 70s and early 80s, Laverne Shirley was simply part of the air. Penny Marshall, who played Laverne and who later became one of the most successful film directors of her generation, A League of Their Own Awakenings, died in 2018 at 75 from complications of diabetes. Cindy Williams, who played Shirley, died in January 2023 at 75 after a brief illness. David Lander, who played the magnificently dim Squiggy, died in 2020 at 73 from multiple sclerosis, a diagnosis he had managed privately for years. The show's world has steadily contracted. What makes Michael McKean's survival slightly unlikely, as a pop culture narrative, is that he is now better known for other things. This is Spinal Tap, the 1984 mockumentary in which he played lead singer David St. Hubbins, has become one of the most quoted and referenced comedies in film history. His later role as Chuck McGill in Better Call Saul earned him a level of prestige television credibility that the Lenny character from Laverne Shirley would never have predicted. He is 76 years old and actively working. He is also the last surviving member of one of the most watched casts in American television history, and that detail tends to go unmentioned. Gilligan's Island only ran for 3 seasons. CBS canceled it in 1967 after 98 episodes, but it never really stopped airing. Through the 1970s and then the 1980s, it was in syndication constantly, filling afternoon time slots and Saturday morning schedules across the country and around the world. An entire generation grew up watching 7 castaways try and fail to escape a desert island after a 3-hour tour went wrong. The professor built radios from coconuts. Gilligan ruined every rescue. The Howells were absurdly wealthy and entirely useless, and Ginger was the movie star, glamorous and improbable in a silk evening gown on a tropical beach. 6 of the 7 are gone. Bob Denver, who played Gilligan, died in 2005. Alan Hale Jr., the skipper, died in 1990. Jim Backus, Thurston Howell III, died in 1989. Natalie Schaefer, his wife Lovey, died in 1991. Russell Johnson, the professor, died in 2014. Dawn Wells, Mary Ann, died in December 2020 from COVID-19 complications at 82. The castaway count, already small, finally reached one. Tina Louise is 92 years old. She lives in Manhattan. As recently as March 2025, the New York Times ran a profile on her describing how she spends 1 hour a week tutoring children to read at a public school on the Upper East Side, walking to the gym, and working at staying healthy for her daughter and grandchildren. She has said she thinks of the ginger roll with more warmth now than she did for decades. She had worried for years that it had swallowed her career. She has spoken about never receiving a cent in residuals from 50 years of reruns, which is a separate kind of sting, but she is here. All 6 of the other castaways are not. The Beverly Hillbillies ran on CBS from 1962 to 1971, and for 2 of those years, it was the most watched show on American television. In constant syndication through the 1970s and 1980s, it became a fixture of afternoon television for kids who had no idea it was already old. The premise was simple and almost aggressively absurd. The Clampett family, poor mountain people from the Ozarks, strike oil and move to a Beverly Hills mansion, where they remain entirely unimpressed and confused by wealth, while their banker neighbor Milburn Drysdale practically hyperventilates trying to keep them from spending or losing the fortune. Buddy Ebsen, who played patriarch Jed Clampett with such understated dignity that the comedy around him seemed to write itself, died in 2003 at 95. Irene Ryan, who played Granny, small, ferocious, convinced that city folk were not to be trusted, died back in 1973. Donna Douglas, Ellie Mae, died in 2015 at 82. Raymond Bailey, the banker Drysdale, died in 1980. Nancy Culp, the long-suffering secretary Miss Hathaway, died in 1991. Max Baer Jr., Jethro Bodine, the enormous, dim, endlessly enthusiastic nephew who wanted to be a double-knot spy, is 88 years old. He has spoken candidly about the typecasting that followed him out of the show, about how difficult it was to be taken seriously as anything other than Jethro, and about how he eventually pivoted away from acting entirely and built a career as a film producer and real estate investor. He is more complicated than the character, and he has had decades to demonstrate that. He is also very simply the last Clampett standing. All in the Family arrived on CBS in 1971 and changed what American television was permitted to say. The show built around Carol O'Connor's Archie Bunker, a Queens dock worker who was bigoted, loud, sometimes tender, and nearly impossible to look away from, tackled race, gender, the Vietnam War, and generational conflict with a directness that made networks and viewers uncomfortable and kept them watching anyway. It ran until 1979 and remained a rerun staple well into the 1980s, the kind of show that felt like it was still happening even when it wasn't. Carol O'Connor died in 2001 at 76. Jean Stapleton, who played Edith Bunker, Archie's wife, patient and funny and more quietly perceptive than anyone gave her credit for, died in 2013 at 90. Rob Reiner, who played son-in-law Michael Stivich, left the series before its final seasons and has since become primarily known as the director of Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, A Few Good Men, and The Princess Bride. He remains alive but has stepped into a different identity. That leaves Sally Struthers, who played Gloria, Archie's daughter, the one caught between her father's world and her husband's, the one who fought back and held her ground and made it look easy. She is 78 years old and has not stopped working. Stage productions of Grease, Annie, Hello Dolly. She has toured in musicals continuously. Gilmore Girls gave her a whole new generation of fans as the chatty Babette Dell. In 2024, she had a role in the Netflix series a man on the inside opposite Ted Danson. She is the one who carries the Bunker family's memory now, the one who was there at the kitchen table for all of it, and the one who is still here to talk about what it was. Eight shows. 8 casts that once filled living rooms with laughter and the particular comfort of familiar faces every week. And now, in each of them, down to one. Todd Bridges, the last child standing from the most cursed sitcom cast of its era. Tina Louise, still tutoring children in Manhattan at 92. Michael McKean, now a prestige television veteran, quietly holding the last connection to one of the most watched shows of his generation. These are the people the credits stopped on. There is something specific about this kind of count, not mournful exactly, but weighted. Every one of these survivors carries something that nobody else can carry anymore. The memory of what it was like to be inside those shows, in those rooms, making those scenes. The audience that watched them is also, gradually, growing smaller. Which of these shows surprised you the most? Which cast left only one standing that you didn't know about? Tell us in the comments. If you want to stay with us as we keep exploring the stories behind the shows you remember, subscribing is the best way to do that.